You're listening to the Career Plus Life Catch-Up, episode number 62. Welcome to the Career Plus Life Catch-Up, a show anchored in reality to help you create a balanced life where you enjoy both your work and your life, because you don't have to choose. I am your host, Cecile Ferry, a corporate executive turned coach and working mom. This is your place for insights, advice, and tools to optimize your career direction, balance, and confidence. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get into it. Hello, my beautiful people. How are you doing this week? And welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. So I hope you're doing well. It's that time of the year. We're kind of halfway. And some of us can really start to feel the fatigue accumulating. And I am part of that bucket too. I'm still feeling the effect of COVID myself. I don't know until when, but I know I still have to pace myself. And it's been another really busy week, really fun and exciting, and lots of work with my beautiful clients that are absolutely kicking goals. I can't share everything here, but I'm so proud of them. And I feel so excited when I see the shifts and the results, both on a career front and on a life front. It's just amazing. So if you're wondering, if you're thinking about it yourself, now is the perfect time to do it, so that comes the end of the year, your life has changed, and probably even much, much sooner than that. Just felt like putting that out there today. So today I wanted to talk about a really interesting topic that I think we don't talk enough about: how to reconnect with yourself. It sounds like, what? Of course, like, I know, why would I need that? But I think in today's time, especially for women, it is something that we need increasingly. So here I'm talking about reconnecting with yourself. It could be because you've had something happening that forces you to, and that's when we tend to be seeking that. When we have a really decent life event happening to us, so we've usually lost a job maybe, or we have lost a partner, we've lost someone that was dear to us. We get thrown by life so much that then we are so lost and we start thinking how to reconnect with ourselves. But the majority of you listening, I really hope you're not falling into that bucket. But however, we should all be generally most of the time connected with ourselves. And I think the current world has completely lost that art and form. And that's what I wanted to discuss today. It's just not something that we do because we are so busy with different things. And especially since we got children and then we go back to work, it's like the self part tends to get really lost. And we usually don't have time for that. It's go, 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 run, run, run. And we serve other people, we serve our jobs, we serve our household, right? I have, for instance, clients that tell me they need to go on a silent retreat in order to switch off and think about themselves. So I'm aware not everyone's got the time and luxury of doing that, and we should need to get to that in order to reconnect with ourselves. And that's what I want to share with you today. But first, let's talk about why it's so important to reconnect with yourself, because I need you to be sold on this. I believe it's so important to keep you on track and to hear your desires, because otherwise we don't hear them. We hear other people's desire, we hear the collective desires, but our own, we need that kind of space and quiet in our lives in order to hear that. And we also need to understand if something isn't working, right? Because sometimes we just keep at it, and we don't hear the dissonance as much. Plus, it feels really good about ourselves when we are connected and to have that relationship with ourselves, to know yourself. Because when you're in that place, then you can give so much more to other people. You feel you know how to be aligned with who you are and just choosing activities and spending your time according to that. And when you're in that place as well, you rely on other people and external events a lot less to make you happy, which is a much better, safer strategy than trying to find things outside of you to make you happy. I'm going to quote here the poet Rumi that I like a lot. He says, "There is a life force within your soul. Seek that life. There is a gem in the mountain of your body. Seek that mine. O traveler, if you are in search of that, don't look outside. Look inside yourself and seek that." So that's the journey I want to share with you today. Wherever you are at on that connection with yourself, I just want to give you a roadmap today that you can start reconnecting with yourself, or if you're already somehow doing that, connecting more with yourself. And it could be an episode where you may need to write things down, because I'm going to give you a lot of questions and you may want to write them down. So maybe pause, get a pen and paper, and let's get into it. So I'm going to give you 3 steps in order to reconnect with yourself. The first one is to disconnect with the world. That is a must-do in order to reconnect with yourself, because you need to make space to have that connection with yourself, because we live in a world that has literally taken over our lives. The world has taken over our time, our schedules, our privacy, our freedom. And also, it's a word that instills fears in us that consume our minds. I don't need to bring up the pandemic and the war in Ukraine. Like, there's so many sources of anxiety that are coming from the world. And the world also instills some needs in us that we didn't have in the first place, right? So you got to thank all the marketers for that. If we look at the world generally, there is an amount of noise that is just incredible, and that amount of noise keeps growing. I don't know where we're going to hit the ceiling, but I was looking at the latest statistics, and right now there's an average of 350,000 tweets created per minute. How is that for noise? There are over 33,000 television stations in the world. Imagine the amount of broadcasting that represents. And I was just looking at podcast episode that you're just listening to, one of the 48 million episodes out there. So this is just huge, and there's no sign of it slowing down. So the amount of content and noise and input that we get, so many feeds entering our minds, that we need to be really, really intentional, because we are surrounded and bombarded. We are in that always on kind of world, especially with technology. So it's a bit sad really, but as human beings, we need to start reclaiming some of that space for us to decide what we want to do with it, and not be always constantly bombarded with external feeds. And even if you look at working from home, now we work more hours, we give more hours of our lives to work, and we have lost that commute and that disconnection that we had between work and home. You know, that place where we could just disconnect and not be there for anyone. We've even lost that a lot. So the thing is, we can't reconnect with ourselves if we are completely immersed in noise, and if we are so outward focused. Like if we check our phones first thing in the morning and last thing at night. Or if we always have the same habits and routines, or if we always are in the same place. Basically, you get what I'm saying? If we have that shell around us that is always there, and especially that is growing and is suffocating us, where are we going to find our own space in the middle of that? And that is a big question today. So I want to give you today some very concrete ways to disconnect with the world. And I'm not saying disconnect completely and go and disappear in a cave. Absolutely not. But this to me is like self-preservation in today's modern time. The first one, and I've already spoken about that on other podcasts, which I do a lot in my life, is to limit or stop the news feed or the media feed in your life. Look at how much you're consuming on your phone and on television when it comes to the news, and I guarantee you, you don't need that much. So tune out of that. Also, let go of what I call shiny object syndrome. So that is about always following the latest thing, and discovering this new TV series and this new product and this new trend and this new fad and this new social media platform, right? Because that's the way the world works, and there's a lot of FOMO, fear of missing out. And that keeps us in that dynamic of always getting on board with new things, and that is at the detriment of our connection with ourselves. You also concretely can go somewhere else. And I think a lot of us have been in the same place for a very long time. And maybe we tend to get used to this as being the new normal. But actually changing places will be a really good way to switch off as regularly as possible. In terms of communication as well and tech, I really recommend you leave your phone away from you at certain times. Just a couple of hours, like on the weekend, so you can be present to something else. And you can set up now, all the phones have got the gizmo, tailor which notifications you still want to get or which calls you still want to get through, so you're not going to miss anything critical. Or I've always spoken about having 2 different phones, one for work, one from home, and not putting your work emails on your personal phone. These are really concrete ways to disconnect, as well as limiting your time on social media. So especially the mindless time that you do scrolling. So try to even make an audit. How much time are you spending on social media, and are you happy with it? If you're happy with it, keep going. Does it give you what you need? But otherwise, be aware of the mindless bit and discipline yourself and stop that. Also, you can limit the amount of TV or change your TV habits too. Again, it's about not having the mindless habit happening there where it just happens because it's on and it's always on, right? Because otherwise you are not going to create that space. So you need to be intentional. And also being in places without sound input is a big one today. So like go out for a walk and don't put anything in your ears. Or likewise, leave blank spaces in your calendar, because where are there, those blank spaces? They don't happen by chance. You usually have to block them. So if you're someone with a very crammed calendar, just start with once a week. Pick 2 hours, usually Sunday or Saturday night. Start with that. That's when you're not going to book anything else. You're going to keep that free, and then you're going to use it for something to reconnect with yourself. Also, review all the subscriptions you have, all the things that you follow, because you don't need that many. In fact, my coach recommends you pick 5 people you want to follow. You pick 5 podcasts that really speak to you. Hopefully this one. You pick 5 newsletters, and that is all. And you stick to them for a year so that you get the value from them. And then at the end of the year, if you've learned everything from these people, you can move on and pick something else based on what you need at the time. Because otherwise, that avalanche of emails in your inbox, and again, you're consuming more content, is another impediment to reconnecting with yourself. It just eats up at your mental space. Other examples, you can spend one night in as a family or by yourself, doing something without external input or without media input. So like do board games or a creative activity, and just experiment with that regularly. Or simply, if you just do one thing here to disconnect with the world, start with making yourself a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, sitting on your couch for 15 minutes and not doing anything. And that might be hard already for some of us that are used to so much of the noise and the company of the external world. But start there. And obviously, for those of you that already meditate or are interested in meditation, it's a very powerful technique to disconnect with the world. And really, through breathing and through disconnecting with your thoughts, not engaging with your thought, you will reach that disconnection really quickly. And that's amazing. You can do it for just 5 minutes. Sitting on your chair, disconnecting, and 5 minutes later, you can reconnect. So if you haven't tried, I recommend you use some of the wonderful free applications. There is the Headspace app, there is the Insight Timer app, there is the Calm app. Some of them is guided meditation, some of them is just music, just beautiful track of music to help you unwind and disconnect from the world. So just choose whatever speaks to you, But realize that unless you do that, you're going to be at the mercy of external input, external content, noise. And the only time when you are going to disconnect is really during your sleep. But then at that point, you're not exactly awake and aware of what's going on. So you don't want to just leave it to your sleep. You need to find times during the day when you also have those breaks. Okay, now step 2. So once you have disconnected and created a little bit of space, you need to start feeling yourself more. That sounds easy, but when especially you don't have the practice of it, it's not easy. So be cool with yourself, start small, and if you don't feel anything in the beginning, don't beat yourself up. It will come over time. You got to train it like a muscle. So it's that what I call a check-in. So ask yourself, how are you feeling physically first? Do a bit of sense check, because you know what, especially us women, we're really, really good at ignoring our physical symptoms, right? And I'm totally part of it. We just don't tune in, we push it down, we kind of neglect it, like we just tune out. And however, our body is sending us a message. So without even feeling like you need to do anything about it, at least just ask yourself, do I have any unchecked pain? Do I have any symptoms? Do I have any sore spot? Is there anything going on with me physically? And then you can ask yourself, do I need to do something about it? But just be aware. That's part of reconnecting with yourself. It's saying, hey, body. It's like you're talking to your body and you are saying, I am listening. What messages are you trying to send me right now? Because the more you pay attention and you learn to listen, the more you will pick up on those messages. It's like you tune it into the right frequency and then you start hearing things. And it might sound really weak at the beginning, but you're going to get better and better. And then you're going to learn really automatically how to spot them. So how are you feeling physically? Then how are you feeling mentally? That one I'm really good at because I've practiced a lot. And that is about, what are your thoughts? What does it look like inside your head right now? What are all the things going on? So that takes some self-awareness, and usually doing some kind of journaling or thought downloads is what will help you. All of you who are used to do that, you do it automatically, right? So if you haven't started, just make it a little bit of a practice and write down all the things you're thinking about. What is on your mind? And usually when you get up in the morning, that's the best time, before you have the word input, right? So what are all the things? Again, we just want awareness in this stage. We don't want to do anything about it and we're not going to judge it, but we just want to know what's going on with us. And then how are you feeling emotionally? That can be really tricky for a lot of us who haven't been taught from a young age. I talk a lot about that across my podcast. We don't have the emotional awareness and the maturity to label our emotions, to know where they're coming from, but anybody can learn that. So start with just labeling your emotions. I do that little game every day, several times a day sometimes. Or when I feel something is a bit off, I'm like, okay, what is the emotion right now? Okay, so ask yourself those three things: physically, mentally, emotionally. And you can finish off with a just super quick check-in. What are 2 words for how I feel today? 2 words, and the first 2 that come to mind. You can also look at your energy level and ask yourself, out of 10, how much energy do I have today? Am I a 9? Am I a 3? Am I a 5? And just note. And then just start asking yourself little questions to feel more about yourself. Things like, what's worrying me right now? One that I really love, that I use often, is, what do I need right now? And just listen for the answer and just feel into it. Because your body won't know. Your intuition will know. You're just not asking it. So ask it, what do I need? What's keeping me up at night? Right? Because you get, just by having this little door open and asking yourself, you can get a lot of insight. So typically, if I speak about my experience, I ask myself, how am I feeling physically quite often, like a bit of a body scan, because I know I have that tendency to ignore physical symptoms. So I scan and I tell myself the truth. And then I ask myself, well, what do I want to do? Should I do something about this? And also I watch how I feel like eating at times, that super annoying emotional eating a lot of us do. Like I catch myself being like reaching out for food when I'm not really hungry. So I just observe that. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling like emotional eating. And then also, as I said to you at times, I just ask myself, what emotions do I have right now? Start practicing a bit of that. And that takes a minute or two throughout your day. You're sitting on a meeting you're not engaged with, like just put yourself on mute and ask yourself that. You're sitting at the red light. Ask yourself that. It doesn't take long. The thing is, I find that we often expect others to do this for themselves, right? And we often ask them, how are you feeling? What's going on? Do you need something, or, of our partners, of our kids, of our friends, right? But it's bit harder, right? We're not so good to be asking that of ourselves. Or we want other people to be asking us. Well, you know what? The most reliable way is you ask yourself. So now we're getting into step 3, and that's the big, deeper work of the reconnection, the deeper part of it. And that's why I say take out your journals, because I want to give you a list of questions to ask yourself to get to that place, to get to know yourself better, to get to understand your yearnings, your envies, your frustrations, your hopes, your dreams, like all the things that are in you that are waiting to come out and that need to come out, and that is part of your life purpose. So I'm going to give you a list of questions, and I could keep going forever, but I won't. And then a couple of tasks or activities that you can do to help you also reconnect with yourself. So that should be fun. And I'm just going to fire them, and they are in no specific order. So just pick and choose what you like and what resonates with you. First question: who are your people right now, and what do they bring you? So who are the real, top 5, 6 people in your life? And therefore, that will help you identify who didn't make the list. Second, what has been your proudest moment in the last few months or in your life? What activities did you used to love but have since dropped? That's a good one. Also, what did you do lately where in hindsight you should have said no? I love that one because we learn so much. When, what were the things that you did and they didn't feel that good and you kind of knew it, but you forced yourself to do it or to go? So think back, make a list, because next time you know where you need to say no. What significant things happened to you this month? Or what were your 5 small wins this way? Like, look back on those good things. What objects or things do you value highly? And where do they come from? What do they mean to you? What activities bring you joy, give you some fun, make you smile, make you feel like a kid? Which place or places are you happy in? Currently or in the past, think about places you've traveled that you've really loved. Who is your number 1 person? Why? What best moments have you shared with that person, and what future ones do you want to have with them? Do you have any regrets? Any sacrifice that wasn't worth it? Who has the most influence on your life? Do you like it? What traits have you inherited from your parents? How are your nights? How is your sleep? How are your dreams? Do you need to improve anything? How are you most comfortable or successful when communicating? What was your last upset or good cry? What was it about? What came of it? What's your bucket list? Classic one. A good confidence booster one is, what is great about you? List your top 10 greatest gift. I've got a few more. What concerns do you have over the future? And which one do you control? Which is your favorite season and why? What new skills have you learned as an adult? Do you spend enough time with family? Do you spend enough time with friends? Do you spend enough time with your community? Are you creative? What is the story you tell yourself about that? When was the last time you felt a sense of peace? What were you doing? And how can you recreate this today? If you had more time, what would you do with it? List 5 trips with family or friends that you loved. What was great about them? And I'm going to stop here, but you could keep going. These are really fabulous prompts to get to know yourself in deeper details. Grab a journal and write away. Now I'm going to add a couple of more typical things you can do as well on top of that journaling and those questions. You can write a letter to the future you, writing your hopes and your dreams and your expectations of the future, as if anything is possible. You can create your own playlist. I think that's a cool one, and pick like 10, 15 songs that are meaningful to you and just play that. And that alone will bring you closer to your own self. You can create a vision board. So that's what you want in your life in the next 3 years. Put everything for your health and your family and your friends and your career and your finances and your spirituality, personal development. We do that in life coaching. You can find tutorials online. That is a really good way. And if you're crafty or creative as well, you can do it on the computer. It's really, really good to connect with all the things you have in you that you would like to see happening in your life. You can also set up morning or evening routines. Just pick 3 things you want to do morning and night. That will help you reconnect with yourself. I've done a full episode on that. It's episode number 36 if you want to check it out, and I'll link it in the show notes. You can also pick your 5 favorite items of clothing that you love the most in your wardrobe and just start wearing them more often. That will instantly reconnect you. And you can wear your favorite accessories and perfumes more often. You can also buy 3 books that you want to read. And you can and you should book yourself some self-care activities, at least one, something that helps you reconnect with yourself. And finally, for those of you that are open to less traditional and slightly more woo-hoo ways of reconnecting with yourself, like there could be an entire episode on that, but here are a couple of ways you can do that. You can book yourself a tarot reading and ask a specific question about yourself and learn about that. You can do your own birth chart if you are into astrology or want to learn there. That will be very revealing about yourself. Or you can learn about your human design type. So I'm aware some of you are listening going, what is all of this? And I can help you with that too. We can do it in life coaching if it's something that you're interested in exploring for yourself. It gives a really good picture, very different from other things that, we do as well, like in career coaching, such as strength tests, personality tests. But I think it doesn't matter what it is, as long as you learn about yourself and it works for you and it speaks to you, it's all good. So there you go, my friend. We have spoken at length today about how to reconnect with yourself. I hope I have convinced you to think about the need that you have right now to increase that connection, whatever stage that you're at, and that you have understood that first you really have to be intentional about reducing the connection and the noise from the external environment that we're all subjected to in order to find that. And then that it goes through you feeling a little bit every day, checking in, how am I feeling physically, emotionally, mentally? And then do the work when you can to ask yourself some of those deep questions, because really you are worth it. And some of those answers can spark new inspirations, new goals, and new actions for you in your life, and literally start putting you on a different path. Just because you sat down with a cup of tea and started thinking, what do I really like? Or when was I at my best, right? So I can't think of better things to do with your time, and start where you are. And this is something, if you're interested, we can explore further in one-on-one life coaching, really in depth, and we can map things out for you. We can start from your life vision in all the different areas of your life based on where you're at right now, and we can look at the gaps and we can prioritize and we can put things in place to start moving towards those things, and that literally translates into your reality and it changes your life. Like I literally have clients every week that I help with doing that work. So if you do want to reconnect with yourself and you find it difficult in your current crazy planning and scheduling and demands over your time and your energy, I get it. It is hard. So if you can commit to some regular coaching sessions and doing the work, that will greatly help you because you have the accountability, you have the space, and you will have me 100% there for you. That can really fast track a lot of that reconnection and then to help you implement the changes and the new action. And even just to get to know yourself more. I think it's just a priceless thing to do. And we need to do for ourselves because we can't expect other people to do it for us or to read us or to inspire us. It really comes down to our personal journey. So I hope you found this inspiring. Please feel free to reach out if I can help you. You know where to find me. I've got my Facebook group, The Career Catch-Up. You can message me on Instagram at Career Catch-Up. You find me on LinkedIn. Whatever speaks to you, whichever platform you like to use. So, and finally, I also want to say, if you're listening to this middle of the year, we are in June, this is also a great time to reconnect with the goals that you set up at the beginning of the year. You're kind of at the halfway mark. And just have a bit of a sense check. Do these goals still feel right? Do they still excite you? And how far are you into those goals? And therefore, what do you need to do? Is there anything you need to change about these goals or anything you need to change about how you're chasing those goals? Do you need some support? Do you need some guidance? Do you need some accountability? Or you just need help with clarity to know what you want to do? Because you've got 6 months ahead of you to make a lot of tremendous things happen for you in your Career Plus life. So as usual, I'm here supporting you, cheering you on, and I really hope that this podcast has helped you see the importance of reconnecting with yourself, and I really wish that for you. And then I really hope you find some of the gold that comes from it. Take care, everyone. Have a beautiful week. I will speak with you soon. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to find out more information, you can visit my website at careercatchup.com. There you will find blog articles, free resources, a self-study course for your career direction, and ways to work with me. It's at careercatchup.com. I hope to continue to connect with you and support you. Talk to you soon.